Have you ever been publicly humiliated by someone you trusted? Have you ever felt like an outsider in your own family? Well, buckle up, because what happened to me at what was supposed to be a beautiful family celebration turned into the most shocking betrayal of my life. My sister, the person I grew up with, shared secrets with, and loved unconditionally, looked me dead in the eyes at our family dinner and said 5 words that would change everything. Go find another table, adopted girl. And that wasn't even the worst part. She then handed me a bill for $3,270 and expected me to pay for a dinner I didn't even plan. This is my story of betrayal, heartbreak, and ultimately, the strength I found to stand up for myself. Have you ever been publicly humiliated by someone you trusted? Have you ever felt like an outsider in your own family? Well, buckle up, because what happened to me at what was supposed to be a beautiful family celebration turned into the most shocking betrayal of my life. My sister, the person I grew up with, shared secrets with, and loved unconditionally, looked me dead in the eyes at our family dinner and said 5 words that would change everything. Go find another table, adopted girl. And that wasn't even the worst part. She then handed me a bill for $3,270 and expected me to pay for a dinner I didn't even plan. This is my story of betrayal, heartbreak, and ultimately, the strength I found to stand up for myself. Looking back now, I can see the signs I missed. The small comments Victoria would make that I brushed off as sisterly teasing, but were actually something far more sinister. When I got engaged to my fiancé, David Mitchell, in June 2022, Victoria's congratulations felt hollow. Well, at least someone wanted you permanently, she'd said with a laugh that didn't quite reach her eyes. I had laughed too, thinking it was a joke. When I announced I was buying my first home, a cute craftsman bungalow in Yonkers, in March 2023, she made a comment about how some people need to try so hard to create roots. Again, I brushed it off. At our cousin Jennifer's wedding in August 2023, Victoria had introduced me to her friends as my parents' other daughter, instead of my sister. The phrase felt odd, created a distance that hadn't been there before, but I told myself I was being oversensitive. David noticed it too. After that wedding, as we drove home to our apartment in the Bronx, he turned to me and said, "Does Victoria always talk to you like that?" "Like what?" I asked, genuinely confused. "Like you're less than her. Like you're not really family." I had defended her immediately. "You're imagining things. That's just how we are. We tease each other." But David's jaw had tightened and he'd said nothing more. Now I wish I had listened to him. The real turning point came in January 2024. My parents celebrated their 35th wedding anniversary, and Victoria organized a surprise party at an upscale restaurant in Manhattan called Le Bernardin. It was beautiful, white roses everywhere, a string quartet, champagne flowing freely. All our relatives were there, family, friends, people who had known us our entire lives. During her toast, Victoria spoke about family, about legacy, about blood bonds. She talked about how she and our mother had the same eyes, how she and our father shared the same laugh. She never mentioned me once. Not once in a 15-minute speech about family. I felt invisible, standing there with a fake smile plastered on my face, David's hand tightening around mine in silent support. When I mentioned it to Victoria later, she waved me off. "Oh my God, Emily, stop being so sensitive. Not everything is about you." But it stung. It stung more than I wanted to admit. March 2024 brought unexpected news. My mother called me on March 5th, her voice trembling with emotion. "Emily, honey, I need to tell you something." My heart dropped. "What's wrong? Is Dad okay?" "Your father is fine," she assured me quickly. "But I'm pregnant." I literally dropped my phone. "Pregnant?" My mother was 58 years old. I picked up the phone with shaking hands. "Pregnant? Mom? How?" I know," she laughed, and I could hear she'd been crying happy tears. "The doctors called it a miracle. We weren't trying, obviously. I thought I was going through menopause, but we're having a baby, Emily, a little boy. We already know from the tests. Due in September. I should have been purely happy. Part of me was... But another part, a part I'm ashamed to admit existed, felt something darker. Fear, insecurity. This baby would be their biological child, just like Victoria. Where would that leave me? I pushed those feelings down deep and congratulated my mother with all the enthusiasm I could muster. David was thrilled for them, and together we went shopping for baby clothes and nursery decorations. Victoria's reaction, however, was different. She became obsessed with the baby. She started calling him my real brother, even before he was born. She posted constantly on Facebook about how excited she was to have a full sibling to share her childhood home with. That phrase, full sibling, felt like a knife twisting in my chest every time. I saw it. On September 12, 2024, my baby brother was born. They named him Thomas Robert Carter. He was perfect, tiny with a full head of dark hair and my father's nose. I loved him instantly, with a fierce protective love I hadn't expected. But Victoria's behavior became worse. She started referring to herself as Tommy's only real sister when talking to relatives. She posted a family photo on Instagram with the caption, "The true Carter bloodline continues. Welcome, little brother. Real family, blood is thickest." When I confronted her about it in a private message, she told me I was being dramatic and jealous. "I can't help that you're not actually related to us, Emily. That's just reality. Stop trying to make everything a personal attack." I showed the messages to David, tears streaming down my face. He was furious. "Emily, you need to stand up to her. This is abusive, but I couldn't. She was my sister. Or at least I still thought of her that way." In early November 2024, Victoria called me. Her voice was sweet, almost sickeningly so. "Em, I have a wonderful idea. Let's do a family dinner to celebrate Tommy's 2-month milestone. Just us. Mom, Dad, you, me, David, and of course, little Tommy. We can go to that new steakhouse in Manhattan, Morton's. I'll make reservations. It'll be perfect." I was surprised but pleased. Maybe this was Victoria's way of making amends, of including me again. "That sounds lovely," I said. "When were you thinking? How about Saturday, November 16th? 7 o'clock? Perfect. David and I will be there. Oh, and Em, dress nice. I want everything to be special. I should have known. I should have sensed something was off. But I was desperate for things to go back to normal, desperate to feel like part of the family again." David and I went shopping that week. I bought a beautiful emerald green dress from Nordstrom, new heels, and even got my hair done at the salon. I wanted to look perfect, to show Victoria and my parents that I belonged at that table. Saturday, November 16th arrived. David and I took the train into Manhattan, holding hands as we walked through the crisp autumn evening toward Morton's. The restaurant was stunning, all dark wood, leather booths, and soft lighting. The kind of place where businessmen made deals and families celebrated milestones. We were running 5 minutes late due to train delays. As we approached the entrance, I texted Victoria, "Just arrived. Be there in 2 minutes." She responded immediately, "We're already seated. Table under Carter." The hostess led us through the restaurant toward the back. I could see my family already, my parents, Victoria, and little Tommy in his carrier. But as we got closer, I noticed something odd. The table was set for 4, not 6. I approached the table with a confused smile, David right behind me. "Hey everyone. Sorry we're a few minutes late." The train was... Victoria looked up at me with an expression I'd never seen before. Cold, calculating, mean. "Emily, what are you doing here?" Her voice was loud enough that nearby tables turned to look. I laughed nervously. "What do you mean? You invited us to dinner?" "No," she said slowly, deliberately. "I invited my family to dinner. My real family." The words hung in the air like poison. My mother gasped. My father started to stand up, but Victoria held up her hand. "Victoria, that's enough," my mother said sharply, but my sister ignored her. "Go find another table, adopted girl. This is for blood relatives only." I felt like I'd been slapped. The restaurant seemed to spin around me. "What? You heard me?" Victoria's voice was ice. "This dinner is for the real Carter family. You're not a Carter. You never were. You just have the name because our parents felt sorry for you. Victoria Ann Carter, sit down right now." My father's voice was thunderous, something I'd rarely heard. But Victoria was on a roll, years of hidden resentment pouring out. "No, Dad. I'm tired of pretending. I'm tired of acting like she's one of us when she's not. She's some stranger's kid that you took in. Every birthday, every Christmas, every family event, we've had to share with someone who doesn't even belong." Tears were streaming down my face. David's arm was around me, the only thing keeping me standing. Other diners were openly staring now. A manager was moving toward us. My mother was crying, reaching for me. Emily, honey, don't listen to her. She doesn't mean this. Yes, I do. Victoria stood up, her face flushed. I mean every word. And you know what else? I'm done subsidizing her presence in this family. She reached into her purse and pulled out a folded piece of paper. She thrust it at me and I took it with shaking hands. It was a bill. An itemized bill. What is this? I whispered. That, Victoria said with a cruel smile, is every penny our parents spent on you that should have gone to me and Tommy. Private school tuition, college costs, your portion of family vacations, birthday parties, Christmas presents, everything. I calculated it all. You owe this family $270. I stared at the paper, unable to process what I was seeing. The numbers swam before my eyes. David snatched the paper from my hand. Are you out of your mind? This is insane. It's fair, Victoria said coldly. She's not family. She needs to pay her way. I've already paid for tonight's dinner for the real family. But if she wants to stay and eat with us, she can start paying us back. What happened next broke me in a way Victoria's words never could. I looked at my parents desperately, waiting for them to defend me, to tell Victoria she was wrong, to kick her out of the restaurant for her cruelty. My mother was crying silently, holding Tommy close. My father's face was red with anger, but he wasn't directing it at Victoria. Emily, sweetheart, let's just go, my mother said softly. We can talk about this later. Victoria's upset. She doesn't mean— Yes, I do mean it, Victoria shouted. Please, let's not make a scene, my father said, looking around at the staring diners. Emily, David, maybe it's best if you both just go home. We'll sort this out later. Those words, maybe it's best if you both just go home, destroyed me. They were choosing her. Even in the face of her cruelty, even as she humiliated me publicly, they were choosing Victoria. Dad? My voice broke. You're taking her side? I'm not taking sides, Emily. But you know how Victoria gets when she's worked up. Let's just let her cool down and— How she gets? David's voice was incredulous. She just told your daughter, your other daughter, that she doesn't belong in this family and handed her a bill for thousands of dollars. And you want Emily to just leave? Young man, I don't appreciate your tone, my father said stiffly. That's when I realized the truth. They weren't defending me because, deep down, they agreed with Victoria. Maybe not with her methods, but with her sentiment. I was different. I was less than. I was the charity case they'd taken in. Emily, please, my mother pleaded. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Don't make this harder. As if I was the problem. As if I had done something wrong by existing. I looked down at my baby brother, sleeping peacefully in his carrier, unaware of the family drama exploding around him. I thought about how he would grow up hearing Victoria's version of this story, how he might never know me as his sister. Come on, Emily, David said gently, his arm protective around my shoulders. Let's get out of here. I let him guide me away from the table, away from my family. As we walked through the restaurant, I heard Victoria's voice carry across the room. Good riddance! Maybe now we can have a real family dinner. We made it outside before I completely fell apart. I collapsed against the brick wall of the building, sobbing so hard I couldn't breathe. David held me, whispering that everything would be okay, but we both knew it wouldn't be. My phone started buzzing. Victoria had texted me, payment plan acceptable. First installment of $500 due by December 1st. Don't embarrass the family by not paying. The days following the dinner were the darkest of my life. I called in sick to work for 3 days straight, unable to face my students while I was falling apart. David stayed home with me, making me tea I didn't drink and meals I couldn't eat. On November 19th, 3 days after the dinner, my mother finally called. Emily. Honey, we need to talk. Yes, we do, I said coldly. You let her humiliate me, Mom. You told me to leave. I was trying to de-escalate the situation, she said weakly. You know how Victoria can be when— Stop making excuses for her, I shouted. She told me I wasn't family. She gave me a bill for being raised by you. And you and Dad just sat there. That's not fair, Emily. We were in shock. We didn't know what to say. You should have said, Victoria, apologize to your sister right now or leave. That's what you should have said. There was a long silence. Then my mother said something that made my blood run cold. Emily, you have to understand this from Victoria's perspective. She's feeling insecure about her place in the family with Tommy here now. She's worried about her inheritance, about her importance. She's acting out. So her feelings matter, but mine don't. That's not what I said. It's exactly what you said, Mom. You're justifying her treating me like garbage because she feels insecure. What about how I feel? What about the fact that she told me I'm not your real daughter? You know we love you, Emily. Do I? Because right now, I'm not so sure. My mother started crying. Don't say that. You're being cruel. I'm being cruel? I'm being cruel? I was laughing now, a bitter, broken sound. That's rich, Mom, really rich. Emily, please. Let's just calm down and meet for coffee. We can work through this. I'll meet with you on one condition. Victoria apologizes. Publicly. A real apology. Not some half-hearted, I'm sorry you were offended nonsense. I'll talk to her, my mother promised. She never did. Or if she did, it didn't work. What Victoria did next was even more shocking than the restaurant incident. On November 22nd, Thanksgiving Day, Victoria posted a series of photos on Facebook and Instagram from what she called our real family Thanksgiving. The photos showed her, my parents, and Tommy gathered around a beautiful table laden with turkey, stuffing, and all the trimmings. The caption read, "So grateful for my real family today." There's nothing like the bond of shared blood and DNA. Some people try to force their way into families they don't belong to, but true family can't be faked. Happy Thanksgiving to those who understand what family truly means. Blessed, real family, blood matters, thankful for truth. I hadn't been invited. It was the first Thanksgiving I'd spent away from my parents in my entire life. David and I had Thanksgiving at his sister's house in New Jersey. His family was lovely and welcoming, but I spent most of the dinner fighting back tears. His mother, Patricia, hugged me tight and whispered, "You're always family here, Emily. Always." But it wasn't the same. It wasn't my family. Victoria's post got over 300 likes. Family friends commented with heart emojis. People who had known me my entire life simply ignored the obvious message. I had been excluded. I commented on the post, "Interesting how you can have a real family Thanksgiving without inviting your sister. Is cruelty a family value now?" Victoria responded within minutes, "You're not my sister, Emily. You're a girl my parents adopted out of pity. There's a difference. Stop trying to guilt your way into a family you're not part of. And don't forget, you still owe $3,270. My cousin Jennifer commented, "Victoria, this is horrible. How can you treat Emily like this?" Victoria's response, "Stay out of it, Jen. You don't know the full story. Emily has been manipulating our parents for years, taking resources that should have gone to their biological children. I'm just setting the record straight." More family members started commenting, some defending me, others staying silent, which felt just as bad. My parents liked the post. They didn't comment, but they liked it. That like was almost worse than everything else combined. On December 3rd, I received a certified letter at my home. David signed for it while I was at work, and when I got home, he was sitting at our kitchen table with the envelope in front of him, his face pale. "Emily, you need to see this." Inside was a formal letter from a lawyer named Richard Jameson, representing Victoria Carter. It stated that I owed the Carter family $3,270 for resources expended on an unrelated minor, and that if I didn't pay within 30 days, Victoria would file a civil suit against me. The letter included a detailed breakdown, private school tuition, partial, Holland 200 college contribution, 800 family vacations, 1998, 2015, 620 birthday parties and gifts, 340 Christmas presents, 1997, 2015, 310. I sat there staring at the letter, feeling something inside me shift. The hurt was still there, but now anger was beginning to burn through it. "She actually hired a lawyer," I whispered. "She's actually trying to make me pay for being adopted." David was already on his laptop. "Emily, this is insane. You were a minor. Parents are legally obligated to provide for children in their care, biological or not. This lawsuit would be thrown out in 5 minutes." "Then why is a lawyer sending this?" "Either he's incompetent, or Victoria lied to him about the situation," David said. "Either way, we need to respond." We hired our own attorney, a sharp woman named Linda Rodriguez, who specialized in family law. When I showed her the letter, she actually laughed. "This is the most ridiculous thing I've seen in 20 years of practice," she said. Your sister clearly has no understanding of the law. Parents cannot sue their adopted children for the cost of raising them. Adoption creates the same legal relationship as biological parenthood. If this goes to court, I'll have it dismissed immediately, and we can probably countersue for harassment and emotional distress. I don't want to sue my family, I said quietly. Honey, Linda said gently, they're the ones suing you. She sent a formal response to Victoria's lawyer, explaining that the suit was without merit and would be aggressively defended. She also made it clear that if Victoria persisted, we would pursue a countersuit and a restraining order. Victoria's lawyer never responded. The lawsuit was quietly dropped, but the damage was done. Christmas 2024 was approaching, and I hadn't spoken to my parents or Victoria in weeks. My mother texted occasionally, short, bland messages like, "Hope you're well," and "miss you," but never acknowledging what had happened or asking Victoria to apologize. On December 15th, my mother called. "Emily, we'd love for you and David to come for Christmas. It won't be the same without you." "Will Victoria be there?" I asked. A pause. "Yes, of course. It's her home too." "Has she apologized?" Another pause. Longer this time. "Emily, you know how prideful Victoria can be. Can't you just let it go? For the sake of family? For Tommy?" "Mom," she told me, "I'm not family. She tried to make me pay for being raised by you. She hired a lawyer to sue me, and you want me to just let it go? I'm asking you to be the bigger person." Those words lit a fire in me. "No, Mom. I'm done being the bigger person. I've been the bigger person my whole life while Victoria got away with treating me like dirt. Not anymore. Emily, please, don't do this. Don't tear this family apart." "I'm not tearing this family apart, Mom. Victoria did that, and you and Dad let her. You chose her over me." "That's not true." "It is true. At that restaurant, when she humiliated me, you told me to leave. You didn't kick her out. You didn't defend me. You protected your biological daughter and sacrificed your adopted one. And now you want me to come back and pretend everything is fine so you don't have to feel guilty about it." My mother was crying. "I love you, Emily. I love you so much." "Then prove it, Mom. Choose me for once. Tell Victoria she's wrong. Make her apologize. Stand up for me." I can't do that. Then I can't come for Christmas." I hung up. David wrapped his arms around me, and I cried until I had no tears left. We spent Christmas at David's parents' house again. They treated me like one of their own, and David's grandmother, a tiny Polish woman named Barbara, held my hands and said in her thick accent, "Family is who loves you, darling, not who shares your blood. Remember that." Chapter 11. The breakthrough January 2025 brought an unexpected ally, my Aunt Linda, my mother's younger sister. She had been at that disastrous restaurant dinner in her role as a family friend invited to celebrate Tommy's milestone, though I hadn't noticed her in the chaos. She called me on January 8th. "Emily, honey, I need to tell you something. I've been trying to figure out how to say this for weeks. Aunt Linda, if you're calling to tell me to forgive Victoria—" "God, no," she interrupted. "I'm calling to tell you I'm sorry. I was there that night at Morton's. I saw everything, and I should have stood up for you, but I was so shocked I just froze. I've regretted it every day since." I felt tears spring to my eyes. "You were there?" "I was at the bar, waiting to join you all for dessert. I saw Victoria hand you that bill. I heard what she said. And Emily, I need you to know something. Your mother and father are being cowards." "Aunt Linda, no, let me finish. I love my sister, but she's wrong. Dead wrong. She and Robert are so afraid of losing Victoria that they're willing to sacrifice you. Victoria has always been manipulative, even as a child. She learned young that tantrums got her what she wanted. This is just an adult version of her childhood behavior." "Why are you telling me this now?" "Because I've spent the last 2 months watching your mother make herself sick with guilt while still refusing to do the right thing. And I'm done watching it. You deserve better, Emily. You deserve to hear that someone in this family sees the truth." That phone call was a lifeline I didn't know I needed. Aunt Linda did more than just call. She started a chain reaction in the family. She called other relatives, cousins, my Uncle Tom, my grandmother, and told them what really happened. She sent screenshots of Victoria's social media posts to family members who hadn't seen them. Slowly, the family began to split. Some sided, with Victoria and my parents believing that blood was thicker than water. But others, my cousin Jennifer, Uncle Tom, Aunt Linda, and several others, reached out to me with support and apologies. My grandmother, my father's mother, who was 87 and sharp as a tack, called me on January 15th. "Emily Grace Carter, you listen to me," she said in her no-nonsense voice. "I raised your father better than this. You are my granddaughter. Biology be damned. If he can't see that, then he's a fool. Grandma, I don't want to cause problems. You didn't cause anything. Victoria is a spoiled brat who was never disciplined properly, and now she's become a spoiled adult. Your parents are too weak to stand up to her, but I'm not. You tell David that you're both coming to my house for Easter, and that's final. If your parents or Victoria don't like it, they can stay home." I loved my grandmother so much in that moment. On February 10th, 2025, something happened that I never expected. Victoria's behavior went viral. A distant cousin named Madison, who was studying communications at NYU, had been following the family drama on social media. She was young, 21, and part of a generation that believed in calling out injustice wherever they saw it. Without telling anyone, Madison created a TikTok video. She didn't use our real names, but she told the story. A woman who had been adopted as a baby was told by her biological sister that she wasn't real family, given a bill for $3,270 for the cost of raising her, and then excluded from family events. Madison included screenshots, with names blurred, of Victoria's real family posts. The video went viral overnight. Within 48 hours, it had over 3 million views. Comments poured in. "This is the most disgusting thing I've ever heard. That adopted sister deserves so much better. As an adoptive mother, this breaks my heart. Adoption creates real families. I hope the biological sister sees this and realizes how horrible she is. The parents are just as guilty for not defending their adopted daughter." News. Outlets picked up the story. BuzzFeed wrote an article titled, "Woman's Sister Demands She Pay $3,270 for Being Adopted. Internet is Outraged." The article included quotes from adoption experts and family therapists condemning Victoria's behavior. Good Morning America did a segment about it, still without our names, discussing the emotional impacts of adoption and sibling rivalry. My phone exploded with messages from people who had figured out it was my story. Friends from high school, college roommates, even former students reached out with support. But the messages that meant the most came from other adoptees. Dozens of people who had experienced similar rejection from biological family members reached out to share their stories and offer support. One woman named Sarah wrote, "I was told by my brother that I wasn't real family when our parents died and he wanted their entire estate. It destroyed me. But I rebuilt my life, and I found people who love me for who I am. You will too. You're not alone." Chapter 13. Victoria's Meltdown. The viral attention had an unexpected effect. Victoria couldn't handle it, even though Madison's video hadn't used real names. Enough people in Victoria's social circle figured out it was about her. Her friends started distancing themselves. Someone left a comment on one of her Facebook posts, "Are you the sister from that TikTok? The one who told your adopted sister she wasn't family? Because if so, that's disgusting." Victoria deleted all her social media accounts on February 14th, Valentine's Day, but the internet doesn't forget. On February 20th, my mother called me crying hysterically, "Emily, you need to make this stop. Victoria's having a breakdown. People are harassing her online. Someone found out where she works and sent her boss that video. She might lose her job. Mom, I didn't make that video. I didn't ask for any of this. But you could stop it. You could tell people it's all a misunderstanding." I felt a cold calm settle over me. Is it a misunderstanding, Mom? Did Victoria not tell me I wasn't family? Did she not hand me a bill? Did you not ask me to leave the restaurant while defending her? Silence. That's what I thought, I said. Victoria is experiencing consequences for her actions. That's not my fault. She's your sister. No, Mom, according to Victoria, she's not. She made that very clear. You can't have it both ways. Either I'm family and deserve to be defended that night, or I'm not family and Victoria should have no problem with strangers online criticizing her treatment of a non-relative. Emily, please, I have to go, Mom. I have papers to grade. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Power. For the first time, I wasn't the one suffering in silence. Victoria was facing the judgment of the world, and she couldn't handle it. On March 1st, 2025, Victoria showed up at my house unannounced. David answered the door while I was in the shower. When I came out, wrapped in my robe with wet hair, she was sitting in my living room, looking haggard. She'd lost weight, had dark circles under her eyes, and her normally perfect hair was in a messy ponytail. Emily, she said when she saw me, we need to talk. How did you know where I live? I asked coldly. I'd bought my house after the restaurant incident and hadn't shared my new address with my parents. Mom gave me your address. Please, just hear me out. David stood protectively nearby, arms crossed. Emily, do you want me to call the police? Part of me did. But another part, the part that still remembered Victoria reading me bedtime stories when I was 6, wanted to hear what she had to say. It's fine, I said. Victoria, you have 5 minutes. She took a deep breath. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what I said at the restaurant, for the bill, for the lawsuit, for everything. I was wrong. I waited for more, but she just stared at me expectantly. That's it? I asked. That's your apology? What more do you want me to say? How about why? Why did you do it, Victoria? We grew up together. We shared a childhood. You were my maid of honor at my wedding last year. What changed? She looked away. When Mom got pregnant with Tommy, something in me just snapped. I realized that I wasn't going to be the only biological child anymore. And then I started thinking about inheritance, about family legacy, about how much money Mom and Dad spent on you over the years that could have been mine. So this was about money? It was about fairness. Victoria's voice rose. Do you know how it felt growing up, having to share my parents with someone who wasn't even related to us? Do you know how many times I wanted to tell people, she's not my real sister, but couldn't because it would hurt your feelings? I felt like she'd slapped me. You felt this way the entire time? I don't know, sometimes, not always. But when Tommy came, it all bubbled up. I couldn't hold it in anymore. David stepped forward. So let me get this straight. You've been harboring resentment toward Emily her entire life. You exploded on her publicly, tried to extort money from her, sued her, excluded her from family holidays, humiliated her on social media, and now you're here claiming you want to apologize, but you're still justifying your actions by saying it was about fairness? Victoria's face flushed. I didn't come here to be attacked by you. No, you came here to make yourself feel better, David shot back. This isn't an apology. This is damage control because your reputation is destroyed. That's not true. Victoria stood up. Emily, you have to believe me. I've been seeing a therapist. She says I have unresolved attachment issues and— Stop, I said quietly. Just stop, Victoria. She turned to me, eyes wide. What? This isn't an apology. This is you explaining why you think you had the right to be cruel to me. A real apology takes responsibility. A real apology doesn't include the word but. A real apology doesn't blame the victim. I'm not blaming you. Yes, you are. You're saying you snapped because of Tommy's birth, because of money, because you had to share your parents with me. You're making your cruelty my fault for existing. Tears started rolling down Victoria's cheeks. What do you want from me, Emily? I said I'm sorry. What more can I do? I want you to mean it, I said. I want you to understand what you did to me. That night at the restaurant, you didn't just hurt my feelings. You shattered my sense of identity. You made me question whether I ever belonged anywhere. You made me feel like the past 28 years of my life were a lie. I didn't mean— Yes, you did. You meant every word. You wanted to hurt me, and you succeeded. And now you're here because people online are calling you out, because you might lose your job, because your reputation is ruined. You're not sorry you hurt me. You're sorry you got caught. Victoria was full-on sobbing now. That's not fair. I came here to make things right. No, Victoria. You came here to make yourself feel better. And I'm not going to give you that. You need to leave. Emily, please. We're sisters. No, we're not. You made that very clear. I was never your sister. I was just an inconvenience you had to tolerate. That's not true. Victoria grabbed my arm. I love you. You have to believe that I love you. David immediately moved between us, removing Victoria's hand from my arm. That's enough. Emily asked you to leave. If you don't go right now, I'm calling the police. Victoria looked at me one last time, mascara running down her face, desperation in her eyes. Emily, I'm begging you, please. Our family is falling apart. No, I said, my voice steady, even though inside I was breaking. Victoria, your actions tore this family apart. Not me, you did this. And now you have to live with it. She left, slamming the door behind her. I collapsed onto the couch, and David held me while I cried. But these tears felt different. Not tears of grief, but tears of release. For the first time since this nightmare began, I had stood up for myself. I had refused to accept a hollow apology. I had set a boundary. It felt powerful. It felt right. In the weeks that followed Victoria's failed apology, I did something I hadn't done in years. I started therapy. My therapist, Dr. Patricia Chen, was a specialist in adoption trauma and family dynamics. Emily, she said during our third session on March 18th, I want you to understand something. What Victoria did wasn't just sibling rivalry or jealousy, it was emotional abuse. And your parents' response, or lack thereof, was enabling that abuse. But they love me, I protested weakly. I know they do. I'm sure they do in their way, Dr. Chen said gently. But love without protection isn't enough. Love without boundaries isn't enough. They loved you, but they didn't defend you when you needed them most. That's a failure of parenting. Those words gave me permission to feel something I'd been suppressing. Anger at my parents. I wasn't just angry at Victoria anymore. I was angry at my mother for telling me to be the bigger person. I was angry at my father for prioritizing peace over justice. I was angry that they had liked Victoria's real family Thanksgiving post. I was angry that they had given her my new address without my permission. Dr. Chen helped me understand that I could love them and still be angry. That I could want a relationship with them while also requiring them to earn back my trust. On April 2nd, I wrote my parents a letter. Not an email, not a text, but an old-fashioned letter that I mailed to their house. Dear Mom and Dad, I'm writing this letter because I need you to understand how deeply you hurt me, and I need to do it in a way where I won't be interrupted or talked over. On November 16th, 2024, Victoria told me I wasn't family. She humiliated me in public, handed me a bill for being raised by you, and told me to find another table. And you, the parents who promised me that adoption made me just as much your daughter as Victoria, told me to leave. You prioritized her feelings over my dignity. You chose peace over protecting me. In the months since, you've asked me to forgive and forget. You've asked me to be the bigger person. You've asked me to understand Victoria's perspective. But you've never once asked Victoria to genuinely apologize. You've never once told her that what she did was unacceptable. You've never once put me first. I need you to understand something. What happened that night didn't just hurt my feelings. It fundamentally changed how I see myself and my place in this family. For 28 years, I believed I was your daughter, equal to Victoria in every way. In one night, you showed me that wasn't true. I don't know if we can repair our relationship. I want to, but not like this. Not with you making excuses for Victoria. Not with you asking me to sweep this under the rug. Not with you treating my pain as less important than Victoria's reputation. If you want a relationship with me, here's what needs to happen. You need to acknowledge that Victoria was wrong and that you were wrong to not defend me. You need to tell Victoria, in front of me, that what she did was unacceptable and that she needs to make genuine amends. You need to stop asking me to forgive her until she's actually done the work to earn forgiveness. You need to understand that I may never be comfortable around Victoria again, and you need to respect that boundary. I love you both. I always will. But I also love myself, and I refuse to accept crumbs of affection while watching you pour your full love into Victoria. I deserve better than that. I am worth more than that. If you can't meet these conditions, then I need space. Maybe a lot of space. Maybe permanent space. I don't know yet. But I know I can't keep sacrificing my dignity and self-worth to maintain a relationship that makes me feel less than. The choice is yours. Love, Emily. I mailed the letter and then waited. Days passed with no response. A week. 2 weeks. On April 18th, my mother finally called. I let it go to voicemail. She left a message. Emily, honey, we got your letter. Your father and I, we need some time to think. This is all so complicated. We love you. We love Victoria. We love Tommy. We don't know how to fix this, but we're trying. Please be patient with us. Patient. They wanted me to be patient while they figured out whether my feelings mattered as much as Victoria's. I didn't call back. Chapter 16. Building my chosen family while. I waited for my parents to decide whether I was worth fighting for. Something beautiful happened. I realized I already had a family. David's family embraced me completely. His mother, Patricia, started inviting me to their weekly Sunday dinners. His sister, Monica, asked me to be godmother to her new baby. His grandmother, Barbara, taught me to make pierogi and told me stories about immigrating to America with nothing but hope and determination. You know what makes you family, Kochani? Barbara said one Sunday afternoon in May, her gnarled hands guiding mine as we folded dough. It's showing up. It's being there when things are hard. Your blood family? They didn't show up for you, but you show up for us and we show up for you. That's family. My friend circle also rallied around me. My best friend from college, Jasmine, flew in from California just to spend a weekend with me. My teaching colleagues organized a girls' night that turned into a beautiful celebration of chosen family. My colleague Rachel, who was also adopted, shared her story with me over wine one evening in late May. Emily, I went through something similar with my biological family, she said. My brother told me I wasn't real family when our parents died, and there was an estate to divide. It broke my heart. But you know what I learned? The people who love you unconditionally, those are your real family. Blood means nothing if there's no love and respect behind it. How did you heal? I asked. I stopped waiting for them to validate me, Rachel said. I stopped needing them to choose me. I chose myself instead. And once I did that, I found my people. They're not related to me by blood, but they're more family than my brother ever was. Her words resonated deeply. I had been waiting for my parents to choose me, to validate me, to prove I mattered as much as Victoria. But maybe I needed to choose myself first. I started living my life for me. David and I went on a long-awaited vacation to Italy in June. Rome, Florence, Venice. We ate pasta, drank wine, toured museums, and I felt lighter than I had in years. I threw myself into my teaching, developing a new curriculum about the power of chosen family in literature. My students responded beautifully, sharing their own stories of finding belonging in unexpected places. I started volunteering with an adoption support group, helping other adoptees process their feelings and experiences. Hearing their stories, some beautiful, some heartbreaking, helped me put my own experience in perspective. And slowly, without even realizing it, I started to heal. On July 15, 2025, I received an unexpected text from my mother. David's mother, Patricia, mentioned you're going to her niece's baby shower on Saturday. I thought you should know that Victoria is also invited. She's friends with the mother-to-be, Sarah. Please don't make a scene. I stared at the text in disbelief. My mother was asking me, the victim of Victoria's abuse, not to make a scene? I called Patricia immediately. Did you know Victoria was invited to Sarah's baby shower? What? No. Patricia sounded genuinely shocked. Sarah is my niece, and I specifically told her what happened between you and Victoria. Sarah promised me Victoria wasn't invited. Let me call her right now. 10 minutes later, Patricia called back, furious. Your mother called Sarah and asked her to invite Victoria. She told Sarah that you and Victoria needed to reconcile, and a baby shower would be a neutral space to do it. Sarah felt pressured and agreed. Emily, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. My mother had orchestrated a forced reconciliation at someone else's baby shower. The manipulation was breathtaking. I called my mother immediately. What were you thinking? Emily, you and Victoria need to work this out. So you ambushed me? You manipulated Patricia's niece into inviting Victoria to force us into the same space? I wouldn't call it an ambush. I call it creating an opportunity for healing. No, Mom, you call it whatever makes you feel better about your manipulative behavior. But here's what's really happening. You're so desperate to avoid confronting Victoria's cruelty that you're willing to ruin someone else's celebration to force me to get over it. That's not fair, Emily. I'm trying to hold this family together. No, you're trying to avoid discomfort. You're trying to force me to accept being treated like garbage because it's easier than holding Victoria accountable. Emily, please, just come to the shower. Talk to Victoria. She's been so depressed lately. Good, I said coldly. Maybe depression will teach her empathy, my mother gasped. How can you say something so cruel? How can you ask me to care about Victoria's feelings when she showed zero regard for mine? When you showed zero regard for mine? I'm your mother, Emily. I love you. Then act like it. Stop protecting my abuser and start protecting me. I hung up. And I didn't go to the baby shower. Victoria did go, apparently. And according to Patricia, who heard from Sarah, Victoria spent the entire party crying and telling people that I was tearing the family apart by refusing to forgive her. The irony was almost funny. Almost. On September 12, 2025, Tommy turned 1 year old. I hadn't seen my baby brother since that disastrous dinner in November 2024, almost 10 months earlier. My mother called me a week before his birthday. Emily, please come to Tommy's party. He's your brother. Don't punish him for Victoria's mistakes. She was right. Tommy was innocent in all of this. He was a baby. He hadn't chosen to be born into this dysfunctional family drama. Will Victoria be there? I asked. Of course. It's her brother's birthday. Then I can't come, Mom. I'm not ready to be in the same room with her. Emily, this is getting ridiculous. It's been almost a year. You need to move on. I need to move on? Mom, has Victoria apologized? Has she acknowledged what she did? Has she made any effort at all to make amends? Silence. That's what I thought, I said. When Victoria does the work to repair what she broke, I'll consider forgiveness. Until then, I'm protecting my peace. You're going to miss your brother's entire childhood over this? The question hit me like a punch to the gut. She was right. If I maintained this boundary, I would miss Tommy's first words, his first steps, his first day of school. I would be a stranger to him. But what was the alternative? Subjecting myself to Victoria's presence? Pretending everything was fine? Teaching Tommy that abuse should be tolerated in the name of family harmony? Mom, I don't want to miss Tommy's childhood. But I also won't sacrifice my mental health and self-respect to be present for it. If you want me in Tommy's life, you need to create a safe space for that to happen. That means boundaries with Victoria. What kind of boundaries? Separate visits. Separate holidays. Separate celebrations. I'll come see Tommy when Victoria isn't there. That's impossible, Emily. Victoria lives at home. She helps take care of Tommy. Then you have a choice to make, Mom. You can prioritize my relationship with Tommy, or you can prioritize keeping Victoria comfortable. But you can't have both. My mother started crying. Why are you forcing me to choose between my daughters? I'm not, Mom. Victoria forced that choice when she told me I wasn't family. You made that choice when you told me to leave the restaurant instead of telling her to apologize. I'm just finally accepting the choice you both already made. I hung up and cried for an hour. David held me while I grieved the relationship with Tommy I would never have, but I also felt something else. Strength. I was choosing myself. Finally, completely, without apology. On October 5th, 2025, nearly a year after the restaurant incident, I received a Facebook friend request from someone named Marcus Thompson. The profile showed a middle-aged black man with kind eyes and a warm smile. I almost ignored it, but something made me check his profile. In his bio, he had written, adoption advocate, birth father reconnecting with the children I wasn't able to raise. Family is love, not just blood. Curious, I accepted the request. Within minutes, he sent me a message. Hi, Emily. You don't know me, but my daughter Keisha showed me the TikTok video about your situation. I'm a birth father who placed 2 children for adoption when I was young and not ready to be a parent. Reading your story broke my heart. I wanted you to know that as a birth parent, I think what your sister did is unforgivable. My children were chosen by their parents. They were wanted, that's a beautiful thing. Anyone who tries to make you feel less than because you're adopted doesn't understand what a gift adoption is. I hope you're doing okay. You deserve better. I stared at the message, tears streaming down my face. Here was a complete stranger, a birth father who had placed his own children for adoption, validating my feelings and defending my worth. I wrote back, thank you, Marcus. You have no idea how much your message means to me. How are your relationships with your children now? Over the next few weeks, Marcus and I exchanged messages. He told me about his journey, getting his girlfriend pregnant at 17, making the impossible decision to place their twins for adoption, spending years wondering about them, and finally reconnecting when they were adults. My kids, they're 30 now. They reached out to me 5 years ago, Marcus wrote. Meeting them was the best day of my life. But you know what they told me? They said their adoptive parents were their real parents. The ones who raised them, loved them, stayed up with them when they were sick, helped with homework, attended every game and recital. They said I was their birth father, and they were glad to know me, but I wasn't their dad. And you know what? They were right. Their parents earned that title. I just provided biology. His words gave me a new perspective. Biology didn't make family. Showing up made family. My parents had shown up for me for years, until they didn't. But David's family, my friends, my colleagues, my students, they showed up. They were my family now. Marcus and I became unlikely friends. He introduced me to an online community of adoptees and birth parents, all supporting each other through the complicated emotions of adoption. I found my people who understood what it felt like to have your identity questioned, to wonder if you truly belonged, to love the family that raised you while also processing complex feelings about your origins. Through this community, I learned something crucial. My worth wasn't determined by Victoria's acceptance or my parents' defense. My worth was inherent. I was valuable simply because I existed, because I was me, because I had the capacity to love and be loved. That realization changed everything. On November 16th, 2025, exactly 1 year after the restaurant incident, Victoria showed up at my school. I was in my classroom after the final bell, grading essays, when my principal knocked on my door. "Miss Carter? There's someone here to see you. She says she's your sister." My blood went cold. "Tell her I'm busy. She says it's urgent." "Something about your mother." Fear shot through me. Was my mother okay? Had something happened? I rushed to the front office and found Victoria standing there, perfectly put together in a designer coat and heels. My mother wasn't with her. There was no emergency. "You lied to get back here," I said flatly. "You wouldn't see me otherwise," Victoria said. "Emily, please. I need to talk to you." "No, get out of my workplace, Victoria." "Emily, I'm pregnant." The words hung in the air between us. I felt nothing. No joy, no excitement, no sisterly warmth. Just emptiness. "Congratulations," I said coldly. "Now please leave. Don't you understand?" Victoria's voice cracked. "I'm having a baby. Your niece or nephew. Don't you care?" "No," I said honestly. "I don't, because according to you, we're not family. So your child isn't my niece or nephew. Your child is a stranger's baby that I have no connection to." Victoria's face crumpled. "I didn't mean it, Emily. I was angry and jealous, and I said terrible things, but I didn't mean them." "Yes, you did. People don't accidentally file lawsuits. They don't accidentally exclude someone from Thanksgiving. They don't accidentally post on social media about real family. You meant every single thing you did, Victoria. And I'm done pretending otherwise to make you feel better. But I'm pregnant." She wailed. "I need my sister." "Then you should have thought of that before you told me I wasn't your sister," I said. "You can't abuse someone for a year and then demand they support you when it's convenient. That's not how relationships work." My principal appeared in the doorway. "Ms. Carter, is everything all right?" "Ms. Reynolds is just leaving," I said firmly. Victoria grabbed my arm. "Emily, please. I'm begging you. I don't have anyone else. Mom and Dad are so focused on Tommy. My friends all hate me because of that video. My fiancé's family thinks I'm cruel. I need you, please." I removed her hand from my arm. "Victoria, you burned this bridge. You don't get to ask me to rebuild it just because you need something from me. You need to leave, now, or I'll call security." She stared at me for a long moment, seeming to finally understand that I meant it. Then she turned and walked out, shoulders shaking with sobs. My principal touched my shoulder gently. "Are you okay?" "I am," I said. And I meant it. 3 days after Victoria's ambush at my school, my parents showed up at my house on a Saturday morning in late November. David answered the door while I was making breakfast. "Mr. and Mrs. Carter," David said stiffly. "What are you doing here?" "We need to talk to Emily," my father said. "May we come in?" David looked at me. I nodded reluctantly. We all sat in my living room, tension thick in the air. "Emily," my mother started, "we've done a lot of thinking this past year. A lot of talking? A lot of soul-searching, and?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. My father cleared his throat. "We want to apologize. Your mother and I were wrong. We should have defended you that night at the restaurant. We should have kicked Victoria out, not asked you to leave. We failed you as parents and we're sorry. The words I'd been waiting a year to hear. They should have filled me with relief, with joy. Instead, I felt nothing. Why now? I asked. What changed? My parents looked at each other. My mother spoke first. Victoria showed us what she said to you when she came to your school. She told us you refused to be excited about her pregnancy. And Emily, we realized, we've lost you. We've spent this whole year trying to keep Victoria happy, trying to keep the peace, trying to hold the family together. But in doing so, we pushed you away. And we can't lose you, sweetheart. We can't. So this apology is about what you want, I said quietly. Not about what was right. That's not fair, my father said. We're here, aren't we? We're apologizing, a year later. After I set boundaries, after I refused to make myself small to accommodate Victoria's feelings, after I stopped begging for scraps of your affection. You're here because I finally stopped chasing you and you don't like how that feels. My mother started crying. Emily, please. We know we messed up. We want to fix this. How? I asked. How do you fix a year of choosing my abuser over me? How do you fix telling me to be the bigger person while Victoria faced zero consequences? How do you fix missing my birthday, skipping our anniversary dinner with David and me, not calling on holidays? How do you fix a year of showing me exactly where I rank in your priorities? We were wrong, my father said again. We see that now. Victoria has been seeing a therapist. She understands what she did was wrong. She wants to make amends. Does she? I asked. Because 3 days ago, she came to my workplace, lied to get access to me, and demanded I support her pregnancy because she needs her sister. That doesn't sound like someone who understands what she did. That sounds like someone who wants what she wants and will manipulate to get it. My mother wiped her eyes. She's struggling, Emily. The pregnancy is high risk. Her fiancé broke off their engagement last month because he couldn't deal with all the family drama. She's alone and scared, and that's my problem because she's your sister, my mother exclaimed. No, I said firmly. She made it very clear that she's not my sister. And you both co-signed that statement by not defending me. You don't get to decide when we're family based on when it's convenient for you. My father stood up, anger flashing across his face. This is ridiculous, Emily. We came here to apologize, to try to fix things, and you're throwing it back in our faces. What more do you want from us? I want you to have stood up for me a year ago. I shouted, standing to face him. I want you to have chosen me when it mattered. I want you to have told Victoria that what she did was unforgivable and that she needed to make it right before the family could move forward. I want you to have loved me enough to protect me, even if it made Victoria uncomfortable. We do love you, my mother sobbed. Then why didn't it feel like it? I asked, my own tears finally falling. Why did I spend a year feeling like I didn't matter? Why did I have to beg you to see my worth? Why was Victoria's comfort more important than my dignity? Silence filled the room. My parents looked at each other, then back at me, and I saw something in their faces I'd never seen before. Shame. Real, genuine shame. We don't have a good answer, my father finally said quietly. We were cowards. We took the path of least resistance. Victoria has always been difficult, demanding. We learned early on that it was easier to give her what she wanted than to deal with her tantrums. And we fell back on that pattern when we should have broken it. So you sacrificed me to keep her happy, I said flatly. Yes, my mother whispered, and we will regret that for the rest of our lives. The honesty was startling, painful, but also finally real. I appreciate your apology, I said carefully. I do, but I need you to understand something. An apology isn't a magic eraser. It doesn't undo the harm. It doesn't automatically restore trust. You broke something between us and I don't know if it can be fixed. Can we try? My mother asked. Please, Emily, let us try. I looked at David, who squeezed my hand supportively. Then I looked back at my parents, these people who had chosen me as a baby, raised me, loved me in their imperfect way, and then failed me when I needed them most. Here are my terms, I said. First, I need individual relationships with each of you, separate from Victoria. That means separate visits, separate phone calls, separate holidays if necessary. I'm not ready to be around her, and I won't be pressured to. My parents nodded. Second, you need to stop making excuses for Victoria's behavior. If she wants a relationship with me, she needs to earn it. That means genuine accountability, therapy, and consistent changed behavior over time. Not just words. We understand, my father said. Third, you need to respect my boundaries. If I say I'm not ready for something, you don't push. You don't manipulate. You don't try to force reconciliation. You trust that I know what's best for my mental health. We can do that, my mother said. And fourth, I took a deep breath. You need to rebuild my trust. That means following through on your promises. It means being consistent. It means choosing me sometimes, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Can you do that? My parents looked at each other, then back at me. Yes, they said together. Okay, I said. Then we can try. But I'm not promising anything. This is a trial period. If you fall back into old patterns, if you start pressuring me about Victoria, if you prioritize her feelings over my boundaries, I'm done, permanently. Do you understand? They nodded, both crying now. We love you, Emily, my mother said. We never stopped loving you. I know, I said. But love without action is just a word. Show me. The months following my parents' apology were strange and tentative. True to their word, they started showing up for me in ways they hadn't before. My mother started calling me every Sunday, just to talk. Not about Victoria, not about Tommy, not about family drama. Just to ask about my life, my students. My plans with David. It felt foreign at first, like learning a new language, but gradually became comfortable. My father invited David and me to a Yankees game in December, just the three of us. We ate hot dogs, drank beer, and talked about everything except the family rift. It was the first time in my adult life that I'd had dedicated one-on-one time with my father. They came to my school's winter concert and sat in the front row, cheering loudly when my students performed. They invited David and me to Christmas Eve dinner, without Victoria, who celebrated with her friends instead. It wasn't perfect. There were slip-ups. In January, my mother mentioned that Victoria was having a hard time with her pregnancy, and maybe I could just send her a card or something to show I care. I reminded her firmly of my boundaries, and she apologized. In February, my father suggested a family meeting to clear the air. When I asked if that meant I'd be expected to sit down with Victoria, he backed off immediately, but overall they were trying, and I was cautiously, carefully letting them back in. I also started seeing Tommy. My parents brought him to my house once a month for visits. He was walking now, babbling in that adorable toddler way, and he warmed up to me quickly. David was wonderful with him, playing peekaboo and reading picture books. One Saturday in March, as I watched Tommy giggle while David made silly faces, my mother said quietly, "You're so good with him. He loves you. I love him too," I said. And I meant it. Tommy was innocent. He deserved to know all his family, even the complicated parts. "I'm sorry you missed his first year," my mother said. "That's time you can never get back." "I know," I said. But that wasn't my choice to make. I set a boundary to protect myself. If I'd compromised my mental health to be present, I wouldn't have been any good to him anyway. My mother nodded, understanding in her eyes. "You're stronger than I ever was at your age. Stronger than I am now, probably. I learned from the best," I said with a small smile. "You taught me to stand up for myself, even when you forgot to do it yourself." In April 2026, 18 months after the restaurant incident, Victoria's life completely fell apart. Her pregnancy complications worsened, requiring bed rest. She lost her job due to too many absences. Her ex-fiancé refused to be involved, even though he was the father. She had no friends left after burning so many bridges. And our parents, while supportive, were exhausted from balancing care for both Tommy and Victoria. I heard all this secondhand from my mother during our Sunday calls. Part of me felt vindicated. She was finally facing real consequences for her actions. But another part, the part that remembered Victoria reading me bedtime stories and teaching me to ride a bike, felt a twinge of pity. "She asked about you," my mother said during a call in late April. "She asked if you were doing well." "What did you tell her?" "That you're thriving, that you're happy, that you and David are talking about getting married in the fall and possibly adopting in a few years." All of this was true. David and I had gotten engaged officially on Valentine's Day, and we'd started the process of becoming certified foster-to-adopt parents. We wanted to give a child the kind of loving home I'd thought I had. How did Victoria react? I asked. She cried, my mother said quietly. She said she threw away the best thing in her life for nothing, that she destroyed her relationship with you over jealousy and ego, and now she has to live with that forever. That's probably the most self-aware thing she's ever said. Emily, I know this isn't fair to ask, but would you consider visiting her? Just once? She's in a really dark place, and I'm worried about her mental health. I took a deep breath. Mom, I appreciate that you're worried about Victoria, but my mental health matters too. And I'm not ready to see her. Maybe I never will be. I understand, my mother said, and I could hear that she meant it. I won't ask again. I promise to respect your boundaries, and I will. That promise, kept, meant more to me than she probably realized. 2 weeks later, on May 8th, my father called with unexpected news. Victoria's in the hospital. She had the baby early, a little girl. They're both stable, but it was scary for a while. I'm glad they're okay, I said, and I was. Despite everything, I didn't wish harm on Victoria or her innocent child. She named her Emma, my father said quietly. After you. Well, close to your name. She said it was because she wants her daughter to be as strong and brave as you are. I didn't know what to say. The gesture felt both touching and manipulative, and I couldn't untangle which it was. That's complicated, I finally said. It is, my father agreed. Emily, I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm just telling you, Victoria is trying, in her own broken way, to show you that she sees what she lost. Naming her baby after me doesn't fix what she did, Dad. I know. But it's a start. Maybe. On June 3rd, 2026, I received a package in the mail. The return address was from a hospital in Manhattan. Inside was a letter, written in Victoria's handwriting, shaky and uncertain. Dear Emily, I'm writing this from my hospital bed, 2 days after giving birth to my daughter. She's tiny and perfect and terrifying, and I have no idea how to be a mother. The nurses keep telling me I'll figure it out, but I'm not so sure. I named her Emma Rose. The nurses assumed she was named after a grandmother or an aunt we wanted to honor. But the truth is, I named her after you. After the sister I destroyed through my own cruelty and jealousy, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to respond to this letter. I don't expect anything from you anymore because I finally understand that I forfeited my right to expect anything when I told you that you weren't family. But I need you to know some things. Even if you never speak to me again, I was wrong. Not just at that restaurant, but for years before. I was wrong when I made comments about you being adopted. I was wrong when I introduced you as my parents' other daughter, instead of my sister. I was wrong when I resented the love and resources our parents gave you. I was wrong about everything. The truth is, I was jealous of you. Not because you were adopted, but because you were genuinely good. You were kind where I was manipulative. You were authentic where I was performative. You earned people's love while I demanded it. And I hated you for making it look so easy. When Mom got pregnant with Tommy, I lost my mind. I convinced myself that you had stolen something from me, my position as the only daughter, my parents' attention, my inheritance. But that was a lie I told myself to justify my cruelty. You didn't steal anything from me, Emily. You never did. You were just a little girl who needed a family and you got one. That's not your fault. It's not anyone's fault. It's just life. I've spent the last 18 months in therapy, working through my issues with abandonment, control, and perfectionism. My therapist says I have narcissistic tendencies that I need to address. She's right. I've spent my whole life making everything about me, including your identity. Holding Emma in my arms, I realized something. If anyone ever made her feel the way I made you feel, like she wasn't worthy of love, like she didn't belong, like she was less than, I would destroy them. I would burn down the world to protect her from that pain. And then I realized, Mom and Dad must have felt that way about you too. They probably still do, which makes my actions even more unforgivable. I didn't just hurt you. I hurt our parents by forcing them to choose between us. I don't know if you're reading this or if you threw it away as soon as you saw my name. Either response would be fair. But if you are reading this, I want you to know, you were always my real sister. Biology doesn't make family, love does. And I loved you, even when I was too broken and selfish to show it properly. I still love you, even though I have no right to. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for another chance. I'm not asking for anything. I'm just telling you the truth, finally, without excuses or justifications. I destroyed the most important relationship in my life because I was too weak to deal with my own insecurities. I will regret that every day for the rest of my life. I hope you're happy, Emily. I hope David treats you like the treasure you are. I hope your students adore you. I hope you have babies someday, through adoption or however you choose, and I hope they know how lucky they are to have you as their mother. You deserved better than me as a sister. You deserved better than our parents in those moments when we failed you. You deserved better than all of us, but you survived us. You thrived despite us. And that's the most remarkable thing about you, your ability to rise above the people who tried to make you small. I'm sorry, Emily. I'm so sorry. I don't expect you to respond. But I needed you to know, with love and regret, Victoria P.S. There's something else in the envelope. The $3,270 bill I gave you, torn into pieces. I can't believe I ever thought that was okay. I can't believe I tried to make you pay for being loved by our parents. It was the cruelest thing I've ever done, and I'm ashamed of the person I was when I did it. I sat at my kitchen table, tears streaming down my face, holding the letter and the torn pieces of that horrible bill. David came home from work and found me there. What happened? He asked, immediately concerned. I handed him the letter. He read it in silence, his jaw tight, then looked at me. How do you feel? I don't know, I said honestly. Part of me is glad she finally gets it. Part of me is angry that it took her this long. Part of me wants to believe this is real growth, and part of me thinks it might just be postpartum emotions. What do you want to do? I don't know that either. David sat down next to me, taking my hand. You don't have to decide right now. You don't have to decide ever, really. This is your choice, your timeline, your terms. Whatever you decide, I support you. I leaned my head on his shoulder. I think I want to let her keep trying. Not to let her back in fully, not yet, maybe not ever. But to let her keep trying to be better. For Emma's sake, if nothing else. That little girl deserves a mother who has dealt with her demons. That's very generous of you. It's not for Victoria, I said. It's for Emma, and maybe for myself too. Maybe letting go of the anger will help me heal more than holding on to it. 3 months passed after Victoria's letter. I didn't respond to it, but I didn't throw it away either. I kept it in my nightstand drawer, rereading it occasionally, trying to discern whether the remorse was genuine. My mother reported that Victoria was doing well, attending therapy twice a week, caring for Emma, living with our parents temporarily while she got back on her feet. She never asked about me, never pressured our parents to facilitate a meeting, never posted about me on social media. She was, it seemed, genuinely trying to respect my boundaries. In September 2026, almost 2 years after the restaurant incident, I made a decision. I called my mother. I want to see Emma, I said. Just Emma, not Victoria. Can you bring her to the park near my house next Saturday? Of course, my mother said, her voice filled with hope. Emily, does this mean... It doesn't mean anything except that I want to meet my niece, I said firmly. Don't read more into it than that. I understand. I'll bring Emma on Saturday. Just me and her. But when Saturday came, Victoria was with them. I saw her across the park, holding Emma, my mother beside her, and I almost turned around and left. But then Emma saw me and smiled, a big, gummy 4-month-old smile, and I couldn't walk away. I approached slowly. Victoria saw me and froze, her eyes filling with tears. I'm sorry, she said immediately before I could say anything. Mom said you only wanted to see Emma, and I should have respected that. But I needed to see you, even if just from a distance. I'll go. I'm sorry. She started to turn away, but something made me speak. Wait. Victoria turned back, hope and fear warring on her face. Let me hold her, I said, gesturing to Emma. Victoria carefully transferred Emma into my arms. The baby looked up at me with wide blue eyes, Victoria's eyes, and grabbed my finger with her tiny hand. Something in my chest cracked open. Hi, Emma, I whispered. I'm your Aunt Emily. She's beautiful, I said to Victoria, my eyes still on the baby. She is, Victoria agreed quietly. She's the best thing I've ever done. The only thing I haven't screwed up. We stood there in awkward silence for a moment. Then Victoria spoke again. I know my letter probably seemed like too little, too late. And it was. It is. But I meant every word, Emily. I've spent 2 years destroying my life because I couldn't deal with my own issues. And I finally understand what a monster I was to you. You weren't a monster, I said carefully. You were a hurt person who hurt other people. There's a difference, is there? I think so. Monsters can't change. Monsters don't feel remorse. Monsters don't go to therapy and write letters acknowledging their cruelty. You were never a monster, Victoria. You were just really, really broken. Victoria started crying. I don't deserve your generosity. No, I agreed. You don't, but I'm not giving it to you. I'm giving it to me. I'm choosing to believe that people can change, that forgiveness is possible, not because you've earned it, but because holding on to anger was poisoning me. So you forgive me? Victoria asked hopefully. I didn't say that, I said firmly. Forgiveness isn't a light switch, Victoria. It's a process. Maybe someday I'll forgive you. Maybe I won't. Right now, I'm just here, present, holding my niece. That's as much as I can give you today. Victoria nodded, wiping her tears. I'll take it. Whatever you're willing to give, I'll take it and be grateful. My mother, who had been standing silently nearby, said softly, Why don't we all sit down? I brought a picnic, and so we did. We sat on a blanket in the park, passing Emma between us, eating sandwiches my mother had packed, making awkward small talk about safe topics like the weather and Emma's sleep schedule. It wasn't comfortable. It wasn't easy, but it was a start. Over the next several months, Victoria and I developed what our therapist, yes, I convinced her to do joint sessions with me, called parallel healing. We were both working on ourselves, both growing, both learning to navigate a relationship that had been shattered and might never be fully repaired. We met once a month, always with Emma present, always in neutral locations. We talked about surface things at first, Emma's milestones, my wedding plans, her job search. We didn't talk about the past. Not yet. In November 2026, exactly 2 years after the restaurant incident, I invited Victoria to coffee. Just the two of us. She looked terrified when I suggested it. Are you sure? She asked. I don't want to push. I'm sure, I said. It's time we actually talked. Really talked. We met at a Starbucks in Midtown, both of us nervous, both of us aware of the weight of this meeting. I got straight to the point. I need to understand why, I said. Not the therapy answers, not the psychological explanations. I need to hear from you, in your own words, why you hated me so much. Victoria took a shaky breath. I didn't hate you. I hated myself. And I projected that onto you. Explain. You want the truth? The ugly, shameful truth? Yes. Okay. Victoria stared into her coffee. Growing up, I was the star. I was perfect. Perfect grades, perfect looks, perfect achievements. Everyone loved me, but it never felt like enough because I knew, deep down, that it was all performance. I wasn't actually perfect. I was just good at pretending. She looked up at me. And then there was you. You didn't try to be perfect. You just were yourself. Messy, genuine, kind. And people loved you for it. You didn't have to perform. You didn't have to earn love. You just received it because you were you. So you resented me for being authentic? I resented you for making it look easy when it felt impossible for me. And then when I found out you were adopted, it gave me an excuse. A way to categorize you as other, as less than. It allowed me to dismiss your achievements, your relationships, your place in the family. If you weren't really family, then I didn't have to feel threatened by you. That's twisted, Victoria. I know. Believe me, I know. My therapist has helped me understand that I have deep-seated insecurity that manifests as narcissism and control. I've spent my whole life trying to be superior to everyone around me because I'm terrified that if I'm not the best, I'm nothing. Where did that come from? Victoria laughed bitterly. Probably from Mom and Dad praising me for achievements rather than for who I was. I learned early that love was conditional on performance, which is ironic because they loved you unconditionally, and I couldn't stand it. I sat back processing this. Do you understand how much you hurt me? Yes, Victoria said, her eyes filling with tears. Not fully, probably. I don't think I can ever fully understand what it felt like to be you in those moments. But I understand I hurt you in ways that can't be undone. I took your sense of belonging and shattered it. I weaponized your adoption against you. I tried to make you pay, literally, for existing in our family. I was cruel, Emily. Deliberately, systematically cruel. Why are you telling me all this now? Because you asked. Because you deserve honesty. And because I've learned that true accountability means facing the full weight of what I did, not minimizing it or making excuses. I felt something shift inside me. This wasn't the hollow apology from 2 years ago. This was real remorse, real understanding, real change. I'm not ready to forgive you, I said honestly. Maybe I never will be. But I appreciate you being honest with me. I don't expect forgiveness, Victoria said. I just hope that someday, maybe years from now, we can have some kind of relationship. Not like before, I know that's impossible. But something. For Emma's sake and for Tommy's sake and maybe for our sake too. Maybe, I said. And I meant it. 3 months passed after Victoria's letter. I didn't respond to it, but I didn't throw it away either. I kept it in my nightstand drawer, rereading it occasionally, trying to discern whether the remorse was genuine. My mother reported that Victoria was doing well, attending therapy twice a week, caring for Emma, living with our parents temporarily while she got back on her feet. She never asked about me, never pressured our parents to facilitate a meeting, never posted about me on social media. She was, it seemed, genuinely trying to respect my boundaries. In September 2026, almost 2 years after the restaurant incident, I made a decision. I called my mother. I want to see Emma, I said. Just Emma, not Victoria. Can you bring her to the park near my house next Saturday? Of course, my mother said, her voice filled with hope. Emily, does this mean… It doesn't mean anything except that I want to meet my niece, I said firmly. Don't read more into it than that. I understand. I'll bring Emma on Saturday. Just me and her. But when Saturday came, Victoria was with them. I saw her across the park, holding Emma, my mother beside her, and I almost turned around and left. But then Emma saw me and smiled, a big, gummy 4-month-old smile, and I couldn't walk away. I approached slowly. Victoria saw me and froze, her eyes filling with tears. I'm sorry, she said immediately, before I could say anything. Mom said you only wanted to see Emma, and I should have respected that. But I had to. I needed to see you, even if just from a distance. I'll go. I'm sorry. She started to turn away, but something made me speak. Wait. Victoria turned back, hope and fear warring on her face. Let me hold her, I said, gesturing to Emma. Victoria carefully transferred Emma into my arms. The baby looked up at me with wide blue eyes, Victoria's eyes, and grabbed my finger with her tiny hand. Something in my chest cracked open. Hi, Emma, I whispered. I'm your Aunt Emily. She's beautiful, I said to Victoria, my eyes still on the baby. She is, Victoria agreed quietly. She's the best thing I've ever done. The only thing I haven't screwed up. We stood there in awkward silence for a moment. Then Victoria spoke again. I know my letter probably seemed like too little, too late. And it was. It is. But I meant every word, Emily. I've spent 2 years destroying my life because I couldn't deal with my own issues. And I finally understand what a monster I was to you. You weren't a monster, I said carefully. You were a hurt person who hurt other people. There's a difference, is there? I think so. Monsters can't change. Monsters don't feel remorse. Monsters don't go to therapy and write letters acknowledging their cruelty. You were never a monster, Victoria. You were just really, really broken. Victoria started crying. I don't deserve your generosity. No, I agreed. You don't, but I'm not giving it to you. I'm giving it to me. I'm choosing to believe that people can change, that forgiveness is possible, not because you've earned it, but because holding on to anger was poisoning me. So you forgive me? Victoria asked hopefully. I didn't say that, I said firmly. Forgiveness isn't a light switch, Victoria. It's a process. Maybe someday I'll forgive you. Maybe I won't. Right now I'm just here, present, holding my niece. That's as much as I can give you today. Victoria nodded, wiping her tears. I'll take it. Whatever you're willing to give, I'll take it and be grateful. My mother, who had been standing silently nearby, said softly, Why don't we all sit down? I brought a picnic, and so we did. We sat on a blanket in the park, passing Emma between us, eating sandwiches my mother had packed, making awkward small talk about safe topics like the weather and Emma's sleep schedule. It wasn't comfortable. It wasn't easy, but it was a start. Over the next several months, Victoria and I developed what our therapist, I convinced her to do joint sessions with me, called parallel healing. We were both working on ourselves, both growing, both learning to navigate a relationship that had been shattered and might never be fully repaired. We met once a month, always with Emma present, always in neutral locations. We talked about surface things at first, Emma's milestones, my wedding plans, her job search. We didn't talk about the past. Not yet. In November 2026, exactly 2 years after the restaurant incident, I invited Victoria to coffee. Just the two of us. She looked terrified when I suggested it. Are you sure? She asked. I don't want to push. I'm sure, I said. It's time we actually talked. Really talked. We met at a Starbucks in Midtown, both of us nervous, both of us aware of the weight of this meeting. I got straight to the point. I need to understand why, I said. Not the therapy answers, not the psychological explanations. I need to hear from you, in your own words, why you hated me so much. Victoria took a shaky breath. I didn't hate you. I hated myself. And I projected that onto you. Explain. You want the truth? The ugly, shameful truth? Yes. Okay. Victoria stared into her coffee. Growing up, I was the star. I was perfect. Perfect grades, perfect looks, perfect achievements. Everyone loved me. But it never felt like enough because I knew, deep down, that it was all performance. I wasn't actually perfect. I was just good at pretending. She looked up at me. And then there was you. You didn't try to be perfect. You just were yourself. Messy, genuine, kind. And people loved you for it. You didn't have to perform. You didn't have to earn love. You just received it because you were you. So you resented me for being authentic? I resented you for making it look easy when it felt impossible for me. And then, when I found out you were adopted, it gave me an excuse. A way to categorize you as other, as less than. It allowed me to dismiss your achievements, your relationships, your place in the family. If you weren't really family, then I didn't have to feel threatened by you. That's twisted, Victoria. I know. Believe me, I know. My therapist has helped me understand that I have deep-seated insecurity that manifests as narcissism and control. I've spent my whole life trying to be superior to everyone around me because I'm terrified that if I'm not the best, I'm nothing. Where did that come from? Victoria laughed bitterly. Probably from Mom and Dad praising me for achievements rather than for who I was. I learned early that love was conditional on performance, which is ironic because they loved you unconditionally and I couldn't stand it. I sat back, processing this. Do you understand how much you hurt me? Yes, Victoria said, her eyes filling with tears. Not fully, probably. I don't think I can ever fully understand what it felt like to be you in those moments. But I understand I hurt you in ways that can't be undone. I took your sense of belonging and shattered it. I weaponized your adoption against you. I tried to make you pay, literally, for existing in our family. I was cruel, Emily. Deliberately, systematically cruel. Why are you telling me all this now? Because you asked. Because you deserve honesty. And because I've learned that true accountability means facing the full weight of what I did, not minimizing it or making excuses. I felt something shift inside me. This wasn't the hollow apology from 2 years ago. This was real remorse, real understanding, real change. I'm not ready to forgive you, I said honestly. Maybe I never will be, but I appreciate you being honest with me. I don't expect forgiveness, Victoria said. I just hope that someday, maybe years from now, we can have some kind of relationship. Not like before, I know that's impossible. But something, for Emma's sake and for Tommy's sake and maybe for our sake too. Maybe, I said. And I meant it.